We are going to start the largest mass deportation in the history of our country because we have no choice. It's not sustainable. And we are going to start with violent criminals, and we're going to start then with criminals. And our local police is going to work with us because they know everything about the people. They know their names. They know everything about them. They know their middle name. They know their numbers. We should not have sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities is a way of protecting criminals, and we should not have sanctuary cities.
Former President Donald Trump yesterday during that impromptu news conference talking about how he's going to, if elected, conduct mass deportations, and he says that local police are going to be working with them. But in Illinois, there could be some problems with state law preventing local law enforcement from working with federal immigration authorities. To talk more about this, Mike Downey, he is the Kankakee County Sheriff, and I wanted to reach out to him because there's just a horrific story out of his county of a non-citizen migrant being accused of sexual assault, and how this impacts law enforcement, and love to hear from him what he's hearing from some of his colleagues across the state. So, Mike, thanks for taking time with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. First, give us an update on the latest crime that's really getting a lot of people's attention of that non-citizen migrant you guys have pressed charges against.
So, good morning, Greg, and thanks for having me. Yesterday morning, I believe it was early morning, we got a call to the hospital for a tender-aged female who was complaining of pain in the groin area. And through our great work by our investigators, discovered that she was sexually assaulted by what is a stepdad in a sense. And so our investigators took that person into custody. He is currently sitting in our jail. We processed him as we normally would. And he did not go to court on the day of his arrest. He went the next day because they were waiting on paperwork. But as it turns out, during that time, we received a detainer from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And that's how we discovered that he was here illegally, because otherwise we cannot ask their status of whether or not they're a U.S. citizen. We cannot communicate with ICE directly. And so the fact that they put this detainer on this individual is what really gave us the information that he was not here legally.
So obviously, when it comes to enforcing immigration detainers, how are you guys able to react to that? I mean, is it now that this individual is facing criminal charges, now can you then work with ICE to get this guy, I don't know, charged, go through the court process, or how does that work now?
Well, he will go through our court process. The problem is, no, we cannot communicate with ICE. We cannot even honor the detainer. So had he gone to court and for some reason the judge would have not detained him, he would have walked out of our building, and we could not have contacted ICE and said, hey, this guy's walking out of our building. He has a detainer. Come and arrest him. So there is literally no communication with ICE, and that's a problem statewide. Those individuals who are here illegally, who may have a detainer, local law enforcement and sheriffs especially, who are dealing with obviously jails, we have no ability to communicate with ICE to let them know, and we are unable to honor a detainer. Much so, if we have an individual who's here on a warrant from, let's say, out of state, Indiana, we honor that warrant and we contact Indiana. Indiana makes arrangements to come and get that individual. We cannot do that with ICE with a detainer. And so they are walking out all over the state of Illinois, county jails, and the Illinois Department of Corrections as well.
Mike Downey, he is the sheriff of Kankakee County, joining us here with Illinois in Focus Daily. When former President Donald Trump says that if he's elected, he's going to conduct mass deportation, how do you think Illinois will play in that at all? With the sanctuary status that it's got across the state. He says he wants to work with local law enforcement, but again, as you've said, you guys, your hands are tied.
Our hands are tied in Illinois. In fact, and while I appreciate what the president's saying, and I agree that we should look at these individuals who have come here illegally and bring them back to their country of origin. In Illinois, that will be difficult to do just because of the laws that are in effect in Illinois, and that falls on obviously our Democratic legislature, basically, along with Governor Pritzker, who is the one who's somewhat created this problem by allowing all these individuals in our state. We are a direct pipeline from the city of Chicago. Interstate 57 runs right through Kankakee County. And so there are a number of those who are here illegally in our community already.
Mike, the most recent case you talked about is just one. How many other examples are there over the I don't know, whatever time period you've got of you guys getting a criminal charge against somebody and then finding out that they have a detention order from ICE?
Well, this is the first one that we've run into, but a lot of times if ICE, for whatever reason, who they're monitoring and who they're watching, if ICE doesn't issue a detainer on one of our arrests, we would have no idea, because by law, we can't even ask somebody's immigration status. And even if we could ask what their immigration status is, it's not like, there's any communication with ICE going on. So the sheriff's hands in Illinois, law enforcement's hands in Illinois are tied because of our sanctuary status and the laws that have been passed and signed by the governor that prevent us from dealing with ICE. And as you know, Kankakee was one of 3 counties at one point that housed ICE detainees, and the legislature and governor put a stop to that as well.
What are you hearing from your colleagues across the state? 102 counties. Surely this is something that you guys talk around coffee, right? I mean, you go to the local coffee shop, so to speak, quote unquote. But what are you hearing from your colleagues across the state?
Yeah, it's similar across the state. I mean, no sheriff is going to, usurp state law. I mean, it's difficult to do our job. I mean, our hands are tied in a number of ways, but when you're involving migrants and those here illegally, I mean, our hands are completely tied. And, I'm sure there are other examples of this things that have happened across the state that maybe weren't quite as serious. But, the bottom line in all of this, Greg, is that, this poor 6-year-old girl who was a victim of such a heinous crime, this could have been prevented and should have been prevented. And unfortunately, it wasn't. So that's the frustrating part from law enforcement and what we're dealing with every day.
Mike, unrelated to this particular issue, since I've got you, and since the governor has made an issue of Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell to resign in all of that situation, curious your thoughts on the Sonya Massey shooting death, the calls from the governor for Campbell to resign, and what kinds of reforms you think could be made to ensure that bad actors don't get into a sheriff's department.
Well, first of all, Greg, my thoughts and prayers are with the Massey family. When somebody calls the police and needs a police response for whatever reason, that person shouldn't end up dead, regardless of who they are. And it was a tragic mistake. Jack Campbell, who I know to be a stand-up individual, a great sheriff, and for the governor to call him out to say that he should resign is irresponsible on his part. The governor should stay in his lane and stop grandstanding and trying to appease his base. It's frustrating when the legislature has tied our hands on a number of issues, and the process that we use as sheriffs in hiring is somewhat universal statewide. I mean, we're trying to get the best people we can get to be police officers in the state of Illinois, and that's a difficult task now because there is such a reduction in the number of people who want to work in the law enforcement area because of what Governor Pritzker has turned into Illinois as a pro-criminal, anti-law enforcement state. That's not taken away anything from what that officer did. That officer was completely wrong. And to Sheriff Campbell's credit, he fired him. He filed charges with the state's attorney. The state's attorney indicted him, and he is in jail right now, which is where he should be. And that's, that's what tools we have to utilize from this standpoint. Should that have happened to Miss Massey? Absolutely not. It shouldn't happen to anybody. But to sit up in Chicago and claim that the sheriff down in Springfield should resign because of something one of his officers did is absolutely ridiculous, and the governor needs to stay in his lane.
Mike Downey, the Kankakee County Sheriff, greatly appreciate you taking the time with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily, and we'll definitely be in touch to further the conversation on these issues and more. Have a great Friday, all right?
Anytime, Greg. You too. Thanks for allowing me to talk.
It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Find us here each and every weekday morning with America's Talking Network. YouTube, search for it on your podcast sites. Illinois in Focus Daily. Have yourselves a great rest of the day, and heading into the weekend, we'll see you back here on Monday.